Hello and welcome to the Flenox YouTube channel. In this session, we're going to be looking at the second part of the JAMB Mathematics Past Questions for 2023, where we'll be solving the next 10 questions. If you've not watched the first part, I will encourage you to do so first, where we solve the first 10 questions, and I've included a link to that in the description. As we shall be solving through these questions, if you have any question, please leave a comment and I'll do well to respond to them as soon as I can. I've also included links to added tutorial videos on related topics so you can further develop your understanding, and you can find them in the description. And finally, make sure you subscribe to this channel and give this video a thumbs up if you find it valuable. So without further ado, let's get started solving the JAMB Mathematics Past Question for 2023 Part 2. So number 11, we're told to divide these two numbers and they are both base 2. Now, from my experience with students, I find that trying to solve questions, particularly division in base 2, can be a little bit challenging for a lot of students. So what I tend to do is to follow a different approach, and that approach involves converting both of the numbers to base 10. So we convert the base 2 to base 10 numbers, we convert it to base 10. And when we divide it normally as we would in any number base, then we convert it back to base 2. And that is what we're going to do. Yeah. So now, how do we convert the first number? Let me write it out. 1, 1, 0, 1, 0, 0, 1. Now, I want to convert it to base 10. So what do we need to do? We need to just multiply all of them by 2 in increasing power of from 0 and increasing. So multiply the first number by 2 to the power of 1, then plus multiply 0 by 2 to the power of 1. Start by 2 raised power 0, 2 raised power 1. Then multiply 0 times, this becomes what? 2 raised power 2. This becomes times 2 raised power 3, plus this becomes times 2 to the power of 4. This becomes times 2 to the power of 5. And this becomes times 2 to the power of 6. So 2 to the power of 6 is 64. 64 times 1 is 64. 2 to the power of 5 is 32, plus 1 is times 1 is 32. 0 times anything is 0, so this is just 0. 2 to the power of 3 is 8, times 1 is 8. 2 times anything is 0, so this is 0. 2 again times 0 is 0. And 2 to the power of 0 is 1. 1 times 1 is 1. So that becomes 64 plus 32 plus 8 plus 1, and that is equals to 105. So that is the first number in base 10, will be 105. Now for the second number, we just have 0, 1, 1, 0, 1. So what do we do? Similarly, multiply 2 to the power of 0, multiply 2 to the power of 1, times 2 to the power of 1, and we'll multiply times 2 to the power of 2 and add it up. So 2 to the power of 2 is 4, times 1 is 4. 0 times anything is 0, and 2 to the power of 0 is 1. 1 times 1 is 1. So I have 4 plus 1, and that is equals to 5. So now I can do the normal division, and normal division will just be what? 105 divided by 5, and that is just equals to what? 21. Now I can convert 21 back to base 2. And how do we convert back to base 2? We just divide by 2 repetitively until we get 0. So 21 divided by 2 is what? 11. Give me that word, right? Yeah. So 21 divided by 2 is rather 10 remainder 1, because 10 times 2 is 20, then you have remainder 1. Now 10 divided by 2 is what? 5 remainder 0, there is no remainder. 2 in 5 is what? 2 remainder what? Remainder 1. Now 2 in 2 is 1 remainder 0, and 2 1 is what? 0 remainder 1. Then we'll write those numbers, the remainders from down up, which is what? 1 0 1 0 1 base 2. And that makes option D the correct option. So again, to simplify, what have I done? I've converted both numbers to base 10, then dividing them normally as you would, and converting the result back to base 2. Now, for more explanation on number basis conversion, I've included the link to full tutorial on that subject in the description. So moving on to the next question, we are told that a rectangle has one side that is 6 centimeters shorter than the other. So I'm just going to draw the rectangle. It's always good to try to see if you can always draw your questions or represent them in diagrams, because that makes you to be able to better conceptualize the solution. So let's assume that one of the sides is x. We are told that the other side is 6 centimeters shorter. So that means we can say that it's going to be x minus 6 because it's 6 centimeters less than x. Now we're told that this is the rectangle. Now they says that the area of the rectangle, and let's call the area which is the area A. Let's just call that A for now, if that makes sense. Now we're told that, okay, let's draw the same triangle again. We are told that same triangle, that if we increase the length of both sides by 2 centimeters, so that means the length of this side becomes x plus 2, and the length of the other side becomes x minus 6 plus 2, and that is what? X minus 4. So if we increase the length of each side by 2 centimeters, then we are told that the area of the rectangle will increase by 68. So the area, instead of being A, becomes A plus what? Plus 68. Now what are we told? We are told to find the length of the shorter side. We are told to find what the length of the shorter side, or in other words, x minus 6. So let's try to find what the area is for both of these triangles. So for the first triangle, we know that the area A will just be what? X times x minus 6, right? And that is just going to be what? X squared minus 6. That is A. Now from our second rectangle, or from like the scenario that we're given, the area is just going to be what? If we multiply both sides, which will be x plus 2 and x minus 4, we're told that the area becomes what? A plus 64. So multiply or expanding, we have x squared minus 4x plus 2x minus 8 is equals to A plus 64. So collecting like time, or making A the sum of formula, I can see that A also will be equals to what? X squared minus 2x minus 8 minus 64, and that is what? X squared minus 2x minus 76. So I can say that A is equals to x squared minus 6, and A is equals to x squared minus 2x minus 76. So I can equate both of them together. So equating them together, I get what? Definitely, since A is, so that means x squared minus 6 must be equals to what? X squared minus 2x minus 76. Of course, this cancels out, and when I bring my 2x over here, I have 2x, or sorry, yeah. So when I bring I have x squared minus 6x. So when I bring this over here, I have what? Minus 6x. Rather, I've made a mistake in the expansion. X times x is x squared, and x times minus 6 is minus 6x. So yeah, so this is minus 6x. So when I bring this over here, I have minus 6x plus 2x will be equals to what? Minus 76. So I have minus 4x is equals to what? Minus 76. And if I divide both sides by minus 4, I have x will be equals to what? 19. So that means the length of the longer side is what? Is 19. But the question asks us for the length of the shorter side, and we've seen that the shorter side is x minus 6. So the shorter side is just going to be what? 19 minus 6. And what is 19 minus 6? 13 centimeters. And that makes option C the correct option. Moving on to the next, we are told that the ages of students in a small primary school were recorded below. So this is a group distribution and we see that between the ages of 5 to 6, there are 29 students between the ages of 5 to 6. There are 40 students between the ages of 7 to 8. There are 38 students within the ages of 9 to 10. Now, what are the total students? We are told to estimate the median. So now, what is the total students that we have? Total students we have is just going to be 29 plus 40 plus 38, and that is 107. So we know that the median is going to fall somewhere in between. So the median is going to fall somewhere between 107 divided by 2, which is 53.5. And where does 53.5 falls? We have 29, then we have, so 53.5 will fall somewhere in between this group, because 53.5 is greater than 29. Then when you find the cumulative, that means it's going to lie somewhere between here. Now you have 38 over here, count from this other side also. 53 is going to lie somewhere in between here. So this is the group that we're interested in. Now for a group distribution, the median is what? The median is given as L plus N over 2 minus F minus big F rather over small f times W. Now I'm going to explain what all these terms mean. Now the L is what is like the lower bound of the group we're interested in. Now we find that the median lies in between this group. Now the lower bound here, L, is just going to be 7 minus 0.5 when you have your group distribution, and that is 6.5. Now N over 2, N is your total number that you have, which is what? So N over 2 is just going to be what? Your total number that you have, which you've calculated before as 107 divided by 2, and which is what? 53.5. Now F, big F, is the frequency of the group before the group of our median. So what is the frequency before this group that we're interested in? The frequency before this group is over here, which is what? 29. And small f is the frequency of our group now, which is going to be what? 40. And W is the weight of our class. That means what is the number of ranges, or how many numbers do we have within that group. Now for each group, for that group, we have 7 and 8, so we have 2 numbers, so the width is what? 2. So substituting all of that, so our median is just going to be what? 6.5 plus 53.5 minus 29 divided by 40 times 2, and that is going to be equals to what? 6.5. When you punch all of this in your calculator, you have 0.6125 times 2, and when you resolve this becomes what? 7.725, and that makes option A the correct option. Moving on to the next, we are told that at simple interest, a man made a deposit of some money in the bank. The money in his bank after 10 years is 3 times the money deposited. If the rate stays the same, how many years will the amount be? 5 years. Would the amount be 5 times the money deposited? So now, first thing we can do is write the simple interest formula. You know the simple interest is what? Principal times rate times time. Now we thought that this is the principal, so we are told that after 10 years, the money that he has in the bank is what? Is 3 times the amount he deposited. Now the amount he deposited is P, which is his principal. So after 10 years, he has what? 3P in his bank account, or 3 times the amount. So if he invested P and now he has 3P, what is the interest that he has gained? It's just like saying, okay, if you have 13 naira now and you invested 10 naira, how much is the interest that you have now? The interest that you have gained is what? 30 naira minus 10 naira, which is 20 naira. So that is something similar here. So he has 3P now, but he invested P. So his interest is what? 3P minus P, which is what? 2P. So we can substitute that in the formula. We can say that the simple interest, so 2P, which is the simple interest, equals to the principal times the rate, which is what we're finding, times the time is what? 10 years. P cancelled out this P, and the rate will just be what? 2 divided by 10, which is 0.2 or 20%. Now, but the question now is asking us that if the interest stays the same, so if the interest stays the same, interest rate, which is R, is the same, how many years will the amount be 5 times the amount deposited? So after what time now? After what thing would what the principal have accrued to what? With the amount in the bank be equals to what? 5p. So again, applying similar logic that we used over here. If the amount in the bank is 5p now, that means what? The interest will be what? 5p minus p, because he invested p when it was starting out. So the interest that would have accrued would be 5p minus p, which is 4p. So again, we apply the formula for our simple interest. So our simple interest will be 4p now, will be equals to our principal is p, our rate we've calculated it from before, which is 0.2, and we're told to find at what time would this be a reality. So t, so p cancel p, so t will just be equals to what? 4 divided by 0.2, and 4 divided by 0.2 is just what? 20. So it's going to take 20 years before the amount that it has is going to be 5 times the amount is deposited, and that makes option C the correct option. Moving on to the next, we are told that the second term of a geometric series is minus 2 over 3, and the sum to infinity is 3 over 2. Find its common ratio. Now, from your geometric series, you know that what? The sum to infinity, s to infinity, the formula for that is given as what? A, which is the first term, over 1 minus r. Now, but we've not been given the first term. Instead, we've been given the second term. We thought that the second term is minus 2 over 3. Now, we know that from our geometric progression, the first term, A, we are not given, but we are given the second term, and the second term is what? AR. So we know that AR is equals to what? Minus 2 over 3. So definitely we can find what the first term is. So the first term, A, is just going to be what? Dividing both sides by r, minus 2 over 3r. That is the first term. Now, we thought the sum to infinity is what? Is 3 over 2. So we can substitute the value of the sum to infinity and the value of A into this equation and try to figure out what r is. So the sum to infinity, we have 3 over 2 will be equals to A, which is minus 2 over 3r, over 1 minus r. 1 minus r. So what can we do now? Definitely, at this point, we can cross multiply. Now, when we cross multiply, when we cross multiply, what do we have? We cross multiply. So we have 3 into bracket 1 minus r is equals to 2 times minus 2 over 3r. So what does this become if we simplify this? So we have 3 minus 3r is equals to what? Minus 4 over 3r. Again, we can cross multiply. So we have 3r into bracket 3 minus 3r is equals to what? Minus 4. So this becomes 9r minus, this becomes 9r minus 9r squared. R squared is equals to minus 4. Now, if I bring this to the other side, I can also write this as what? 9r squared. Then bring this over here, it becomes minus r, and I have minus 4 is equals to 0. Now, as you can see, this is a quadratic equation. So let me write that down over here. 9r squared minus 9r minus 4. And we need to solve for this. So what do? Multiply the first and the last term, and that gives us 36r squared. And we ask ourselves, what two numbers can I multiply together to get 36r squared? But when I add them together, I get minus 9r. And that will be minus 12r and minus 3 and plus 3r. Because minus 12 times plus 3 is minus 36. Yeah, and minus 12 plus 3 is minus 9. So I can replace 9 with this broken down number. So I have 9r squared minus 12r plus 3r minus 4 is equals to 0. So factorizing, 3r is common here, and I'm left with 3r minus 4, and minus plus 1 is common here into bracket 3r minus 4. So what am I left with? I'm left with 3r plus 1 when I factorize, and 3r minus 4 is equals to 0. So let's try to find what the roots are. So the first one says that what 3r plus 1 is either equals to 0 or 3r minus 4 is equals to 0. So in this case, 3r is equals to minus 1 and r will be equals to minus 1 over 3. In this case, 3r will be equals to 4 and r will be equals to 4 over 3. Now when you look at the options, there's a minus 1 over 3 and there's a 4 over 3, which is the correct option. Now this will require you to understand something about what sum to infinity. Now there's a condition that applies here, and what is that condition? For you to be able to find the sum to infinity, the common ratio must be what? Must be less than 1. This is a condition that is a property of a geometric series in which you can find the sum to infinity. So now, which of these two values are less than 1? Minus 1 over 3 is less than 1. So that means minus 1 over 3 is the valid solution. The reason why this condition holds, I don't want to go into too much details, but you can check the link in the description where I put to geometric series and you can get a deeper understanding. So that means for this case, the correct option is what? Option A. But this is how we go about solving this. Moving on to the next, we are told that a rectangular plot of land has size with length of 38 meters and 52 meters correct to the nearest meter. So what does this mean? It means that they approximated some numbers to 38 and 52, and they're now asking us that what is the possible range of values for the area of the rectangle. So what do we need to do? Now we think of the number 38. What numbers can I approximate to get 38? So the numbers I can approximate, it can either be any number from 37.5 to what? To 38.4999999. Now, when I have 37.5, I can round it up to 38. But when I have 38.49999, I can round it down to 38. What about for the second number, 52? The possible range of values for that will be similarly is going to be what? 51.5 to what? 52.49999 all the way up to infinity. So these are the possible range of values in which I can approximate to get either 52, and these are the range of values I can approximate to either get 38. So now they're asking us for the range of the possible areas of the circle. So now for the area of the rectangle rather. So find the area of the rectangle. We are going to think about what is the smallest possible area that we can have. And the smallest possible area we can have is if we multiply the smallest possible values in both of the range of value. So the least area is going to be what? It's going to be 37.5, which is the smallest possible value we can round up to 38 times what? 51.5. And when you multiply these two numbers together, what do you get? You get 1931.25 cm squared. Now, the biggest possible area you can get is when you multiply the two biggest possible numbers that you can get. In this case, you have this and this. Now, I can approximate this number to 38.5, but think about it. It cannot be 38.5. It must be less than 38.5, because if it's 38.5, then I can round it up to 39. But just to make our multiplication simpler, I can just multiply 38.5 times what? 52.5. But the number must be less than what? So multiplying those two numbers together, you get 2021.25 centimeter squared. So that means what? The range of possible values of the area is what 1931.25 meter squared. Sorry, the units are in meter, not in centimeter. So my bad, all this should be meter. Then less than or equals to my area, because these values are included, but that must be less than, strictly less than what? 2021.25. And why is that? Why is it strictly less than? Because it can be any number, but just not up to 25.5 and 38.5, because then you would have to round it up to the next whole number. So that is why it has to be strictly less than in this case. And the correct option to that means that what? Option A is the correct option. If this is not clear or I have any question, please leave them in the comments and I'll do well to respond to them as soon as I can. Moving on to the next, we are told to express this in standard form. So there are different ways to approach it, but the easiest way I think in which we can do that is to try to write everything so that they have the same exponent. So we're going to rewrite everything in the exponent of 10 to the power of minus 5. So the first one is already in 10 to the power of minus 5, so we leave that as it is. So times 10 raised by minus 5. Now let's do for the second one. The second one, we have what? 6.76 times 10 to the power of minus 8. So if I want to make it to the power of minus 5, I want to make it to 10 to the power of minus 5. What do I do? The difference between 10 and 5 is 3. So I have to move this dot to the right 3 times. So I move it here 1, 2, 3 and add my dot and have 0, 0. So this becomes what? 0.00676 times 10 raised by minus 5. So this is the same thing as what? Minus 0.00676 times 10 raised by minus 5. And finally, my last term, I have what? 0.23 times 10 raised by minus 6. To make it to be 10 raised by minus 5, as you can see, it's just a difference of what? Of 1. So I only need to move it once. So this becomes what? 0.023 times 10 to the power of minus 5. So this becomes plus what? 0.023 times 10 to the power of minus 5. Now as you can see, 10 to the power of minus 5 is common to everything. So I can factorize that. 10 to the power of minus 5 is common. And I'm left with what? 16.54 minus 0.00676, then plus 0.023. Now when I sum all of this together, that results in what? 16.556 then times 10 to the power of what? Minus 5. Now I can bring this one dot over here and it reduces this exponent to the power of 4. So it's the same thing as saying 1.6556 times 10 to the power of minus 4. And when you simplify or make it to 2 decimal places, this becomes 1.66 times 10 to the power of minus 4. And that makes option A the correct option. For any question, drop me a comment, and I've also included a link to a better description on expressing number in their standard form. So moving on to the next, we are told to find the value of t if the distance between the points this and this is 9. So now we know that the distance between 2 points D, let me use that as the same thing as saying the square root of what? You should know this formula. x2 minus x1 squared plus y2 minus y1 squared. Now we've been told what the distance is. I'm told that the distance is 9. So 9 is equals to the square root of, now we can label our axis over here. We can just call this, x1, y1, x2, y2. So let's do that. So what will be my x2? My x2 will be what? T. My x1 is minus 3, so that will be minus 3 squared. Then plus my y is what? My y2 is what? Minus 5, and my y1 is what? Minus 14 squared. And that becomes 9 is equals to what? The square root of what? This becomes what? T minus times minus is plus, so that is t plus 3 squared and plus minus 9 minus times minus is plus, so minus 5 plus 14 is what? Is 9 plus 9 squared. So I can find the square of both sides, and the square in this side what? Cancels out this square root. So how about 9 squared is equals to what? T plus 3 squared plus 9 squared. So you can see 9 squared is on both sides, so they can cancel out. So I'm left with what? T plus 3 squared is equals to what? Is equals to 0. What can I do? I can find the square root of both sides. Now the square root takes care of this square, and I'm left with what? T plus 3 is equals to 0, and t is just going to be what? Minus 3. So the value of t is minus 3, and that makes C the correct option. Moving on to the next question. We are told that let star and exponent of these symbols be two binary operations such that a star b is equals to a square b and a up arrow b is equals to 2a plus b. We are told to find this. Now, if you've not heard of binary operations, I've included a link to what they are in the description, so do well to check that out to get a better understanding. But in summary, what binary operations means is just like a way in which you manipulate numbers. So think about it as a formula, meaning that anytime I see a star b, this is what I'm to do. So we're going to apply that logic over here. So when I'm going to try to solve what is in these two brackets, so minus 4 star 2 will just be equal to, the formula says we should take the first number and square it, a squared, so that will be minus 4 squared, and we multiply by the second number times b. Now minus 4 squared is what? Times b, in this case, which will be 2. So minus 4 squared will be minus 4 times minus 4, which is 16 times 2, and that is what? 32. Now let's apply it to the second one over here. So we have 7 star minus 1, and that becomes what? Similarly, a squared, which will be 7 squared, times b, which will be minus 1. 7 squared is 49, that will be 49 times minus 1, and that is what? Minus 49. So we found what is in this bracket and what is in this bracket. So that means we are left to just simplify what? 32 up arrow what? Minus 49. Now we told that when we have up arrow, this is what we have to do. We have to take the first number and multiply by 2 and add it to the second number. So that means this, you can just think of this as A and this as B. So this becomes 2 into bracket what? 32. Then plus of what? B is minus 49. And 2 times 32 is what? 64. Minus times plus is minus, so minus 49. Now what is 64 minus 49? That is what? That is 15. So that means the correct option to this is what? Option D. Moving on to the final question for part 2 of the JAMB Mathematics Past Question for 2023. We are told to evaluate this integration. Now, what are we going to do? We're going to try to simplify what we have over here first. So we have the integral from 1 to 0 of 4x minus 6. I'm going to write this, try to write this. So for example, let's try to rewrite this. When you have x squared, or the cubic root of x squared, from your law of indices, this is the same thing as saying what? X to the power of 2 over 3 from our law of indices. So I can write this funny looking sign as what? X to the power of what? 2 over 3 dx. So now I can apply my integration to each of these terms. Now remember, when I have a number, if I want to integrate a number n, or a number n, let's say to the power raised to the power of a, it's just going to be what? N raised to the power what? A plus 1. I'm going to add 1 to the exponent and divide by what? The exponent a plus 1. So applying that logic over here, integrating 4x, that is just going to be what? 4 times x. This is the same thing as saying x to the power of 1. So that becomes what? X is the power of 1 plus 1 over what? Over 1 plus 1. Then I have minus 6. The same logic applies here. This is going to be x to the power of what? 2 over 3 plus 1 over what? Over 2 over 3 plus 1, applying the law. So what this becomes 4x squared over 2, right? And it becomes minus 6. 2 over 3 plus 1 is what? 5 over 3. So this becomes like 5 of times let me clean this. So this becomes times x to the power of what? 5 over 3. Just for completeness, this is how I got 5 over 3. 2 over 3 plus 1 over 1, which is 1. The LCM is what? The LCM is what? Is 3. 3 times 1. 3 divided by 3 is 1 times 2 is 2. 3 divided by 1 is 3 times 1 is 3. And that is what? 3 plus is what? 5 over 3. So 2 over 3 plus 1 is 5 over 3. And that is why I got 5 over 3. Then divided by what? 5 over 3. So let's simplify this. The integral of this becomes 4 divided by 2 becomes what? 2x squared. Right? 2x squared minus this becomes what? This is same thing as bringing the 3 over here. This is same thing as saying 3 times 6 times x raised to power 5 over 3 divided by 5. So the integral here is just same thing as saying what? 2x squared minus 18 over 5 times x is power 5 over 3. Now we're told that the limit is what? From 1 and 0. So what does this mean? It means we substitute the value of x as 1 here. Then we substitute the value of x as 0 and we'll minus them from each other. So let's do the upper limit. The upper limit, we substitute the value of x as 1 here. So that becomes 2 times 1 squared minus 18 over 5 times 1 raised to power 5 over 3. Then that is the upper limit. Then the lower limit, we just substitute the value of x as 0 here, which will be what? 2 times 0 squared minus 18 over 5 times 0 raised to power 5 over 3. Then we'll simplify this. So 1 squared is 1 times 2. So this becomes 2 minus 1 raised to power 5 over 3. 1 raised by anything is 1. So this becomes 2 minus 18 over 5. Then minus everything here is going to be 0. Because 0 is past 0, anything is 0 times 2 is 0, and 0 times anything 2 is 0. So this is 0. So I'm only interested in this first part over here, 2 minus 18 over 5. What is the LCM? The LCM is 5. So 1 in 5 is 5. 5 times 2 is 10. 5 divided by 5 is 1 times 18 is minus 18. So I'm left with what? 10 minus 18 over 5, which is what? Minus 8 over 5. And that makes option B the correct option. For more explanation on integration, I encourage you to check out the link to my tutorial video of integration that I've put in the description. And that brings us to the end of our part 2 for JAMB Mathematics Past Question for 2023. Remember, if you have any question, leave them in the comments and I'll do well to respond to them. And do well also to subscribe to this channel and give it a thumbs up. I'll see you in part 3. Bye for now.